Hi guys, welcome to another of our videos. This time we're going to be looking at the Olympic 180 hoist. Standard mobile hoist, steel construction. It does what it says on the tin. It lifts a person, lowers a person, hoisting from bed to chair to chair, floor, etc. All the usual things that a hoist can do. This one's quite good. It's got electric leg opening as opposed to the old manual leg opening. It's an all electric hoist. It's got an emergency lower, and we'll run through all the features and benefits of it. So I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. So there are 4 casters. The 2 at the rear are braked casters. The front ones are just standard casters. Obviously, before you use the hoist, make sure the casters are all present and correct, are all working order, the brakes work. So at the back here, using your foot, pop the brake on and lift it up to take it off. They are quite easy to do, and you can do them with your fingers as well. Some hoists you come across, you can't do them with your fingers, they're so tough. But these are really easy to get on and off. Make sure again, once you take the brakes off, it is free moving. If I take the handset here, I'll show you a close up of the handset in a second, but there are 2 functions on here at the bottom for leg open and close. So if I press the first button, the legs will start to open. And it's more than wide enough to go around any of your standard armchairs, rise and recline chairs, etc. And then press the button again to close. So it's all electric, there's no handle at the back, there's no foot pedal to use. Just close them up again. The other function we have on the handset is the up and down, obviously. So if I press up, the carry bar starts to lift, and if I press down, then it starts to come down again. What we also have on the handset, at the top we have 3 little pictures of a battery and a spanner. There's a little green light at the moment on the 3rd battery, and the battery picture shows that it's full. So this has got probably 75% to 100% battery capacity. When it drops below 75, it will go to the 2nd light, and then it will go to the bottom light when you start to get a low battery. If it gets too low, you will get an audible alarm as well. So when you start to press the up button, halfway through a maneuver, it might start to beep. If it does that, that's your low battery warning. Don't panic, carry on with whatever you're doing. If somebody's on the way to the toilet, let them go to the toilet. You will have about roughly 5 transfers left once you get that first audible alarm. If you get the audible alarm as soon as you press the button, I would stop using it and put it in charge, because you don't know whether the person before you heard the alarm and did 2, 3, 4 transfers, and you might get stuck halfway. Now what will happen if the battery does go flat, it will cease the up function but continue to allow you to use the lower function. So if you get somebody halfway up and the battery does stop, there's not enough power to lift them, there will always be enough power to get them back down again. So if the lower does cease, we have the red disc at the top here of the actuator. This is your manual override. If I turn this, it only goes in one direction. I can't wind the hoist up, but I can wind it down. It'll take a while, it's just there as a last resort. Your first option, should the down button fail, will be actually on the back here, on the control box itself, underneath the emergency stop. So if I was operating the hoist, press the red button in, it stops all functions of the hoist. That's your emergency stop. Twist the button to release, it pops out and the hoist will reactivate and start working again. As I said, just under there, we have an emergency lower. So if I just take a standard ballpoint pen, press it into the hole with an up arrow, the hoist goes up. With a down arrow, the hoist goes down. So that will override the handset, should the handset, if you run over the cable, if you damage it in any way, you can still actually operate the hoist using a pen. Short term, and obviously let us know and we can replace the handset. Not all hoists have both functions. They will have the lower, but not necessarily the up function. This particular one has both. Just below those, there are 2 lights, which at the moment they're not lit. One says on and one says charge. What you will find, most mobile hoists, if you switch the power off in an emergency and plug the hoist into charge, it won't actually accept any charge into the hoist, because the hoist thinks it's an emergency situation. It won't let the power in case there's a fault within the hoist itself. but you'll get a light on to tell you there's power. So that's the on light. This has a second light which actually tells you not only is the power on, but it's actually receiving the power and it's charging the hoist itself. So in this situation, the hoist, you'll get an on light but no charge light. If we switch the hoist back on, take it out of emergency mode, you'll get both lights on when you plug it in. One to tell you there's power from the socket, the other to tell you the power is actually going into the hoist battery and it is actually charging. Just below there, you've got your info screen. So depending on which you press, up or down, it will activate the screen. If we press the down function on the handset, just very briefly, the display screen at the bottom here will show you the battery power. It's basically the same as the top. So you can see that on there. If you press up and let go, again, just very briefly, you'll get a different display, and this has 4 bits of information on. The top one shows you how many full actuations it's done, so that's how many full lifts, bottom to the top and all the way back down again. The second one down is actuations in seconds, and that's how many seconds the actuator, the motor if you like, has been operating for, both up and down. The third one is a big weight symbol. This one says 0, which is what you would hope to see. If that starts showing numbers, 1, 2, 3, etc., it's how many times you've overloaded the hoist. That could be lifting a person that's above the weight limit, in this case 180 kilos. So if you tried to lift somebody of 250 kilos, that would show, press it again to reactivate, that would show 1. It can also happen where staff have accidentally lifted a bed or lifted a chair, so they've got something caught up and the hoist is trying to lift a person along with the wheelchair. The last one at the bottom there is a spanner, similar to the one at the top here. This one lights up when it's due to be serviced. This one actually counts down and tells you how many days until the full service is due. So this is your full 12 months annual service, not the 6-month Lola check. And all that information is by pressing up and letting go, down and letting go again, just to repeat, is the battery. The battery is removable. There's a little clip at the top here, which we can press, and that just slots straight into there. As soon as it connects, the hoist is activated. So speaking of the charger, we have a 2-piece cable. If you plug the charger directly in, what can happen is people forget that it's plugged in and walk down the corridor, stretch the cable, damage the hoist by snapping this out, or damage the socket in the wall. So what we do is we add a second piece of cable. That plugs into the hoist unit itself, and it has a safety grip underneath, which I can activate on there. Now that can't pull out. The second cable then plugs into there and plugs into the wall socket. So it's an onboard charger, and that's when you'll get your lights on to tell you there's power and charge. But should you walk off down the corridor, the cable will disconnect. You won't damage the hoist, you won't damage your socket, and all you need to do is plug the 2 cables back together, plug it back in and reactivate. Again, if it happens again, it will just disconnect without causing any damage to the property or the hoist unit. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you is just the carry bar. We have a 3-point carry bar, which means 3 on either side, or 6 in total. 1 at the end, 1 at the front and 1 at the rear, depending on which way around you have the carry bar. Now this particular one is an optional extra. Normally the carry bar comes fixed and it swings backwards and forwards and pivots. This particular one is what we call quick release, a QRS system, which means the little red lever, if I press that down, I can actually tilt the carry bar and remove it very quickly. In doing so, we can then add accessories like the weigh scales. So the weigh scales will clip onto there, the carry bar will clip to the weigh scales, or we can change the carry bar quite quickly and easily. Should you need a bariatric carry bar, a wider or a narrower carry bar for children, we can add that on at any time, just clip it on. Once it's on, it can't be removed until you physically press the button, tilt and pull it forward. So once it's clipped in, it's perfectly safe, but it means it's very quick and easy to add accessories should you need them. Apart from that, that's the hoist. The weight limit is printed on, it's on the name. It's a 180 kilos. There is a manufacturer's label on here, again on this side, which does tell you all the capacities and everything you need to know, all the legal information for the hoist. That's on every hoist. So I hope that's okay. Any questions? Contact details will be coming up afterwards. Please feel free to give us a ring or drop us an email and we'll answer any queries you've got. Thanks for watching.